Thank you all for coming along today. It's good to see some old friends and some new colleagues and all my team here. It's quite humbling. I might look calm on the outside, but I'm pretty nervous on the inside. So if I start saying, where's Chad? If I say okay too many times, you guys go, Eban, you're saying okay too many times. And I'll correct myself on that. So. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through a pitch, and then we're going to go into a live demo. I've sacrificed some small animals this morning and other things to make sure that the live demo goes well to the demo gods, fingers crossed. And then we're going to finish off with a bit of a talk about, what's all this technology mean for the future of work, which is a very important topic to me. Father of 3 girls, hello. Father of 3 girls, so it's very important to me, as we go forward, we're all very interested here in, what we're going to do with technology in the future and what do things like Codebots mean going into the future. So with no further ado. All right, so how do we build software today? Let's ask ourselves that question. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play the role of the software engineer. All right, so how do we build software today? The first thing we do is more than likely we're going to talk on the phone. Okay, so we use our voice. We're going to arrange a coffee date, and we're going to have a bit of a chat over a coffee, and I'm going to start absorbing your language and you telling me the software that you want to be built. More than likely, we're going to follow up afterwards. You're going to send me some emails, so you're going to send me some text. Okay, and you're probably going to attach a Word document to the email, and you're going to start shuffling across some requirements to me in some sort of text format. Okay, so we're using language, we're using text, and finally we're going to have some meetings, and this is my favorite one. We'll definitely do this. We're going to get the whiteboard out. Yeah, and we're going to draw some diagrams, aren't we? This box means this, and we're going to connect it to this one, and this box means this, and all this type of thing. So we're going to use diagramming, some sort of visual tool. So that's how you and I would communicate when you're describing to me the software that you want built. Okay, that's the problem right there. We've already got ourselves into a bit of a knot. Okay, what happens here, and we've seen this within the software industry so many times. What happens is legacy starts to set in, we start to rise up technical debt, and probably one of the most important things that happen is this. Okay, the poor developer ends up turning themselves into a bottleneck. Okay, I take all those things that you said to me, I stick them into the top drawer, and I start writing the code directly. Okay, and I become the bottleneck. That's the problem. Okay, so how can we do it better? All right, imagine if those things that I stuck in my top drawer, okay, all those conversations we had, all that text that we wrote, all of those diagrams we drew, I took those out of my top drawer, I put them back on the table in front of us. Okay, not only did I understand it, but you understood it, and you definitely understood it. Okay, but we also had a Codebot that could understand that as well. And if the Codebot could understand that, then the Codebot could then go ahead and write a huge amount of code for us as part of that process. So that's the value proposition we're looking at. How do we make this Codebot a valuable member at this round table where we're all working together? All right, so what can this Codebot do for us? Okay, at the moment, our Codebot delivers for us over 90% of our code base for our existing customers. First up, okay, we've got rapid delivery. We can iterate faster. All right, we all want to get from where we are with our ideas and the things we want to do. We want to start iterating faster, and we want to get to market early. Get to market early with our MVP and test the market. So we need to get there as quick as we can. Secondly, we're going to raise the quality level. So instead of having a human doing all of this repetitive code, what we've got is we've got a bot that's going to do it for us, and we're going to raise the quality of the software. And finally, we have maximum control. So instead of that poor little guy, the developer down the bottom that's getting chased by everyone, we want everyone to equally contribute to the software application. So both the technical and the non-technical stakeholders have an equal contribution. All right, some of my results so far. Okay, the first one, where's Steve? There he is up the back. So Steve over here, founder of SafeWork Pro. This is a really good story. He started off, okay, solving a problem within his existing business. Then he realized that that problem was across the entire industry. So he spun out another business. And now we've been on that journey with him the whole time. So that's a great story, and well done to Steve. Next up, we got Jevity. Where's Locke? Just here. Okay, Locke, as most entrepreneurs do, was looking to get code developed offshore. Okay, originally, where were you, mate? In Costa Rica? Costa Rica, yep. Lovely. My brother lives in Costa Rica. Go there if you can, it's a beautiful place. But what we were able to do is we'll be able to bring that work offshore back into Australia because the Codebots made us more competitive. Have a chat with Locke about our journey there. So if you think about that, if we've actually made Australians competitive and we can now bring that work from offshore back into Australia, that's massive news for our country, which is brilliant. Department of Defence, okay, I can't tell you what they do. But I can tell you we've developed them their own codebot called Codebots, Department of Defence bot. And Dr. Bo's leading that team there. Well done, Dr. Bo. And so far, Codebot has written alongside that team over 1 million lines of code inside the Defence Restricted Network. So big news there. And finally, CareLinks. Okay, another great story. So they had an existing legacy application, and we'll be able to use the Codebots technology to take it from one of those old school installed on the desktop and migrate it across to a cloud-based system. So all 4 really good stories that we've been able to help so far. All right, here we go, live demo. All right, who wants to see this? All right, so first up, we've got an existing project set up. I'm not going to let you guys watch us set up a project. That's pretty boring. We want to give you the highlights. Okay, and we've got an existing application. So this is the existing application here. My beautiful assistant over here, Leo, sitting here, is just clicking through and just showing this is a very simple application. It's very wireframey. Just to, so everyone's aware, this application is live up in the AWS cloud, okay, across 2 hosted zones with a full redundant backup system and all the things you'd want from a production environment. Okay, so there's our existing application. All right, so back over to Codebots. Okay, quick navigation tour down the left-hand side. Up the top, the first thing you see is where it says Platform. Under Platform there, you'll be able to access the two other pillars of Codebots, being the Academy and the Community, and we'll talk more about them a little bit later on. Next up is the name of the project. So what do we call our first project? Oh yeah, we're a bunch of geeks. We call it Hello World, of course. Next up, we got our dashboard, and that's where the captains, where everybody gets to come and see the health of their software. Next along, we've got management. So inside that section is where you're going to find that text we were talking about in the actual pitch at the beginning. So how do we manage the backlog, the things that the actual application is going to do? Then we've got development. Inside development, there's sort of 2 areas. You've got your diagramming, so that's the area where we're going to do all that whiteboarding and drawing about what the software actually does. And you also got testing, because no software is complete without testing. All right, and finally down the bottom we've got environments, which we're going to later on show a live deploy up into AWS. And on the right hand side, finally, and this is one of the most exciting bits that's going to happen over the next few years, is we've actually got an integrated chat system. So inside here, okay, you'll be able to chat with your other team members who are working on the project. Okay, but most importantly, you'll also be able to chat with your codebot that's working in your project. So the codebot will jump in on your chat with your team members and take instructions from your team and perform those right there from within the chat channel. And there you can see Lampbot chatting away. Okay, all right, let's have a look at the diagramming. Now this is one of the most powerful parts of the system. Okay, so the bot we're using at the moment, that little spinny guy there, is called LampBot. LampBot writes to a LAMP stack, Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, and we're going to be developing a range of bots that write to different technology stacks. We've actually done 7 so far since our inception, so we've got lots of these little bots depending on what your target technology stack would be. Okay, so this diagramming here for LampBot, one of the things that we've identified is everybody loves wireframes. Okay, what is the actual application going to look like? So this is a full wireframing system. Now we've built this from the ground up. It's using a technology called 3JS. So we are not limited to what we can put into this diagramming other than our imagination. Okay, so that's no third-party tool. This is straight over WebGL, which sits on top of OpenGL, so we have direct access, almost direct access to the graphics card, which is very exciting. So what Leo's going to do here, if he hasn't done so already, he's going to add in some changes to the diagramming for our application. So at the moment, I think he's adding in, what are you adding in there, mate? Okay, so he's adding some text fields, some various things there. All right, so now we're changing what the application's going to do. Okay, at this point, we look at this, we go, yeah, they're the changes we're after. They're good. Let's go ahead and get the bot to write some code. All right, so this is the one. Can everyone cross their fingers? This is the big moment. Okay, and we're going to hit the build button, and here goes the bot writing some code. So there's LampBot here. And what you're seeing here is a visual representation of the bot writing code across the file system. Okay, so LampBot, as you can see, that's like the directory and file structure within that. And at that point in time, there we go, huzzah, the build is complete. You can roll over those nodes and actually see the files and everything and interact with them. For this particular build here, LampBot just wrote 11,000 lines of code in, what was that, like 5 seconds based on those changes. For a software engineer to write about 11,000 lines of code, we're talking quite a few days worth of effort to get to that point. So you can see the value gain already on what's going there. All right, next up, let's have a look at the chat, Leo. And LampBot reports back to us in the chat saying that the build's complete. You can also ask LampBot from within the chat, can you go ahead and build the code for me? You can ask LampBot to deploy your application, all those things from within the chat channel there. All right, so next up we're going to deploy. Okay, so we've made the changes, now we want to get it up into the live system. All right, so we go over to the environment section, and now we're going to do the deploy. To deploy the application, we haven't, to Maddie, where's Maddie? To Maddie's disappointment, we're only got it down to a 2-click deploy. He got very upset when he found out it was 2 clicks. It's going to be 1 click by public launch. So what we do to deploy, the first click is actually you click into this text area and write your changelog, and then the deploy is you actually just click the deploy to beta button here, and it'll be the same again. So at the moment, I'm saying congratulations, off you go, you're now deploying. So that's as easy as it's going to be to get your software from your local development environment up into a full cloud-based system. So that in itself is a huge time saving right there, which is very exciting. Now, after you've deployed, what we're just going to do is, for all the techies in the audience, you're probably wondering, well, how can I actually augment this code? To augment or add to the code, you can jump into the Git repository, and inside here you can see LampBot has made a bunch of commits to the repository as part of that process. And as a software developer, you can pull that repo and make changes to the code. The way that you can make changes to the code, so everything that the bot writes is 100% developer readable. So at any point in time, a software developer should be able to lift up the hood of the engine and understand what's going in underneath. So everything there is best practice. Right now, to add to the code, it's very simple. We've got these protected regions. Leo's just highlighting one there. So those protected regions are preserved, so the bot won't touch those protected regions. So what that means is as the bot's going ahead and writing the code, they leave any of your code alone, and that allows the bot and the human to work together side by side. All right, so let's switch over to the target application. Okay, and we're going to do a refresh, and hopefully the deploy is done, and we're going to see the changes that we've made through the diagramming. There we go, changes in there. All right, so just 4 more points to show on the live demo. I'm pretty stoked, they're all the big things, so I can settle down on the inside now. It's all worked. 4 more things to quickly go through. So inside the management section, you've got your stories backlog. So this is where your requirements, where you express the intention of the software using text. So we use just epics and user stories like all good agile practices do. And inside here, this is where you edit and manage your backlog. So you can see here, we've got a bunch of story builders, and you can add descriptions, platforms, user levels, all these types of things, how you are going to express the intent of your software. All right, next up, we've got our testing section. So no software is complete without testing. Actually, when we do the deploy, if you don't have your test done, I want Lampot to appear with a cowboy hat and go, "Yeehaw, are you sure you want to deploy?" So you can deploy without tests if you want. All right, so testing, here's your test. We've got a few tests we built earlier. So if we look inside one of these tests, what's a test look like? Okay, so this is what a test looks like now. Okay, we've actually used the programming language that is used to teach children how to program, called Scratch. Okay, so that means non-technical and technical people alike can actually write tests and contribute to their software. So as a non-technical person, what that means is you can jump on there, you can add your user acceptance testing in and make sure that those tests are run before you go through the deployment process. So you get to put guards around your software to make sure that the right thing's being done before it's actually deployed. And non-technical people can jump on here and do this. Okay, so it's a huge leaps there. Next up is we've got our traceability matrix, one of my favorite. That sounds very fancy. But what it is it's basically down the left-hand side you have your list of requirements. So these are all the things that the application is going to do. Across the top we have all our tests, and you say which tests. You simply click the checkboxes to say which tests apply to which requirements. Now why is that important? Okay, that leads straight into the health of your software. So on the dashboard now, now we can start getting some real interesting stats. So we can see how many tests you've got, how many are passing and failing, how many of those epics and user stories don't have tests, okay? And all these types of things. So that drives into the dashboard and the health of your software. Live demo done. Well done to Leo too, and all the team for setting that up. Good work. Pretty stoked with that, to be honest. There's so many things in there. How was that pace? Was that okay? It was okay? Give me some feedback later. Should I go faster, slower in sections? I'm sort of giving you the grand tour at the moment. As you can appreciate, there's so many value propositions that I showed you there across the entire board that are going to be game changers on a number of fronts. So happy to talk about any of those. And testing, I love talking about testing. I'm a testing nerd. All right, so some of the rules of Codebots. Okay, these are the unbreakable rules that I will never change as long as I'm actually running the business. Okay, for rule number 1, what we're doing is we're not creating a new software development methodology. We're creating something that is complementary to Agile. Okay, so we're not trying to create something new on that front. It's always got to be complementary to Agile and that sort of best practice. Second up, the bots write developer readable code. Okay, so what's really important about that is we need to get these bots and these humans working together. So at any point in time, we can lift up the hood of the engine, look underneath and understand exactly what's going on. Super important. Second up, the bots will always be trying to go for 100%, but they don't expect it. So what that means is for your businesses, okay, the true IP, okay, the true intellectual property, the true business problem that you're solving, you can still do, a developer can still jump in there and get that done for you, and the bots do all the heavy lifting. Next up, we write both the development and the testing targets. Okay, so we'll never leave testing behind because that drives directly into the health of our software. And from a management point of view, we need to make sure that our software is performing how we expect. And finally, a codebot will never be able to write its own internal code. It'll be able to write your code, but it won't be able to write its own code. And that's very important. Now, why is that important? All right, because these two guys, they're having a bit of a punch-up online, a verbal punch-up. It's not a real punch-up. A verbal punch-up. This guy on the right, I think he wants to put a moon base on, something like that, land us on the moon in the next decade or something, and then launch us over to Mars, hey? And then off to Mars, yep, via the moon base. So awesome. So he's expressing caution. He's like, guys, we've got to be careful around this AI stuff. Okay, what we do with technology, we've got to be super careful. This other guy, I always forget what's his name, Dave? This guy on the left? Zuckerberg, that's it. That guy, he's like, no, let it go, it'll be fine, type thing. So there's two sort of extreme views on what's going on here. Now, everyone here is going to have opinion about AI and what we should do and not do into the future. I'm a dad of 3. I'm exercising the caution flag, and that's why I've said we're not ever going to be writing our own internal code. Now, the reason for that is that we end up with unintended consequences. Okay, so when the original manufacturers of the automobile said, that'd be a great idea if we had an automobile, did they think this was going to happen? No, they didn't. They didn't say, let's do that so everyone can sit in a traffic jam on the M25 for an hour and hate life. That wasn't what they intended to happen. So no matter what the technology is that we are going to use, there's going to be unintended consequences for it. So that's why another reason that I sort of go towards we need to exercise caution on this front. All right, so what does this mean for the future of work? Okay, so for me who's got children, and for some of you who've got children as well, and businesses, what does this mean for us going into the future? Okay, so we've had a few industrial revolutions so far. We're sort of 3rd/4th. Is the 4th really happening, or is it part of the 3rd? It doesn't matter. We love the cloud and all buzzy hype things like that. So we're in the midst of this 4th industrial revolution at the moment. Now, what's happened is not that. I always thought, what year? We're almost 2018 and we still don't have hoverboards, do we? So I want hoverboards now. That was just a disclaimer, really bad dad joke, carry on. All right, what we end up with disruption. Okay, now when technology and the like comes, we end up with disruption. So what's happened in history is we've had massive disruption to farming. Okay, farming's gone from 40% down to 2 now. Manufacturing, it's gone from 25 down to 10. Okay, so we always have this wave of disruption. So should we panic at this point in time? There's some people that believe we should panic. Okay, one group says 47% of positions should be automated. I don't believe that one. I don't believe that one. Another group says 60% of students are studying stuff right now that is at risk of not being applicable in the future. That's a huge stat. Yeah. Now, what's really important, and this is the sort of study that I like being a scientist. Okay, so what this group did is they broke down the occupations into activities that those particular occupations do, and looked at all the things that you actually do within that occupation. So, you know, sensory perception, cognitive capabilities, natural language processing, all this type. So it was a lot more scientific. So they did this big study of all these different occupations and worked out, you know, which bits of these occupations can actually be automated. Now, what they found was while 50% of all the activities could be automated, only 5% of those occupations could be completely automated. Okay, so that says something in itself right there. Right, so what that means for us, if only 5% of those jobs out there be completely automated, what we need to do is we need to work out as we go into the future, how can humans and technology, or humans and bots, work together going into the future? Okay, so for me, it's not about replacing jobs. That's not what we want to do at all. What we want to do is talk about, well, what are those jobs of the future, and how do we evolve and get ourselves on the pointy end to make sure that we shape the future we're after. Okay, so how are we doing in Australia? Okay, we're actually not doing so great, unfortunately. We're slipping. I spoke at the Australian National Digital Strategy Workshop a couple of weeks back at federal government. So our government's finally getting together a national digital strategy, which is great. It's coming together. And I did a bunch of research for that to have a look, and we're 15th out of 63 and dropping for competitiveness. Our digital and technical skills are 45th, 51st for education and dropping, and 40th for cybersecurity and dropping. Okay, so for me, that's alarming. Like for someone like myself who's very competitive, I'm not happy unless we're, at least first. All right, so what I really believe is somehow not, and I don't want us to wait for government either. I think if we wait for government and stick our hand out, nothing's going to happen. We need to work this out as the private sector, okay? And we need to work out how we're actually going to be competitive in these new global markets. All right, so how does Codebots fit in? So we've got our personas. You probably notice a bunch of my team, we're wearing these. I've got a captain, one on. We've also got builders, we've got creators, we've got explorers, and we've got bots. For us going into the future, okay, it's not anything about replacing jobs. It's like, well, how do we make technology accessible to everyone? Okay, and how do we bring people to this round table so that everyone can equally contribute to their software? I love this one. Yep, less time coding, more time creating. I had a guy the other day, if he watches this video, thanks for the beta application. I don't tell a lie, he put in for our beta application. Everyone can do that now. And he said, oh, this is awesome. We can get non-technical people to help because I'm sick of coding 24/7. Please hurry up. That was his beta application. I had a good giggle to myself. So what's going to happen now between beta and public launch? These are the things that we're going to get in for public launch. First up, we're going to make some improvements around the bot chat. Secondly, there's going to be an amazing onboarding experience, and where are all my summer interns? They're in here. Yep. So that's what we're working over, something very important over the summer. Second up is going to be the academy. Where's Lana and Joe? There, that's the academy team. So you'll be able to jump on there and learn how to use Codebots, and they're driving that part. The community, Indy, where's my community lead? Come out here. Everyone say round of applause to recent mum. And some more diagramming. Okay, so that wireframing and diagramming that you saw, that very exciting part where we hit the build, we're going to make some improvements to that as well. So when is public launch happening? It should be happening at the end of Q1 2018, so about 3 months' time from now. We're taking on beta applications, so those early adopters. And I just want to say thanks to everybody for coming this morning. I really appreciate it. A big thank you to my team. It's been a roller coaster, right? Oh yeah. And sometimes we've felt like Eban's a little bit of a nutcase, and is this actually going to work? Ta-da! It did work. And finally, another thank you as well. Just to Advance Queensland. We got one of those Ignite Ideas grants for 250 grand. I really believe in those types of funds. It was great. We're actually able to employ about another 8 people into Queensland thanks to that fund. So if anyone from Advanced Queensland's here or watching, thanks. We'll be going for another round soon. And thanks guys. Cheers.
All right. Thank you, Evan.